Hi everybody, I'm Jonathan Anstey. I'm from Anstey Architects, and my involvement is as a professional architect.
And everybody, we the developers, me and business partner, and we also do we're involved in the construction side over there.
Your screen says Nicole, but you don't look like a Nicole.
No. Yes, I'm working from someone else's laptop. It's Adrian Udia, and we're from CNS Projects, and we were the structural engineers on the project.
Okay, fantastic. Is it Jacques? Your screen says Jacques.
I'm Jacques van Rensburg from Ferro Eleganza. I was managing the contract from Ferro's side for the manufacturing and erection of the structural steel.
Okay, fantastic. So I think, gents, how I'd like to proceed is just to start with our the questions that are related to architecture, and then we'll go on to structural, and then if needed onto cladding, if there's anyone that dealt with the cladding. If you are not speaking, if I could ask you to just mute your mic so that we can not have any background noise. So, Jonathan, can you give us a little bit of insight? Oh, and by the way, I have enabled screen sharing. So if any of you have got any models or photographs or things that you'd like to share with us, you're welcome to do so. The photographs that we've got for the submission are very much from the same angle, and just, you know, there's not really all that much that we could see. So it would be really beneficial if you could share some content with us. Jonathan, could you give us a little bit of insight into the brief for the structure and just a little bit of a background of what the project actually entailed?
Perfect, Denise. Denise, we've got a couple of slides that you'd like to share with the team as we go forward. Sure. And I know that just to avoid duplication, before we start, the engineer's model was fully integrated into the architectural model, and we'd like to then just share the engineer's model in the engineering section. So ours would be photographic and information, and then the detail model, which is what everybody came for, is in the engineering side of the equation. So let's start with the presentation 2. Are you on the...
Yes, we can see. I can see Skill Awards. Yeah, there we go.
Okay, excellent. I see share there. Perfect. Sorry for that little technical glitch there.
Not a problem.
So your first question was, what was the architectural brief for the structure? And it all starts about the site. Cobus came to us with a beautiful site along the N1 to Pretoria, and its strategic infrastructural value was that there's millions of South Africans that drive up and down that road on a daily basis. The site was located on a positive curve, which essentially means that it's a highly visible site and strategically located for a signature structure. The brief was to create a structure which would take maximum functional advantage of this location. And of course, in that particular site, that meant that signage and an office building would be of incredible value to the developer. So the building needed to be easily scalable. It had to be designed to integrate the structural requirements of a large billboard and an office building without structural duplication. I think that's where the innovation comes in. It was the without structural duplication. The building and the billboard had to be homogeneous in its construction. And the scalability of the project meant that as it was built in phases, there'd be no redundancy in the development of the IGS going forward. Your next question, I think you're going to ask me, just going down your list.
Oh, go for it. You've got them in front of you. You can...
Okay. How did steel play a role in achieving our vision or objective for the project? The structural elegance of pristine steel members was an intentional and intelligent choice for these large planar surfaces and facades. The steel methodology set up a structural skeleton, faster, cleaner, and with the desired precision essential for the success of the signature building. The precision and the provision for scalability could be effectively designed into the solution as an additive process, which in turn would incur no wastage into the future. In our opinion, what makes steel a desirable material to work with? As an architect, I love the flexibility of frame structures. It's a material which brings both architecture and engineering into a realm where both can be celebrated. And in fact, where the structural integrity can be celebrated as the final aesthetic of the building. Structural functionalism of junctions and bolts, along with perfectly formed linear elements, makes it undeniably the choice for any designer. Steel literally allows us to build bigger, faster, with longer spans, with cleaner junctions, and far more accurately than any other material. And that's why it's our material of choice. In other words, I think it delights both the engineers and architects to work with steel. And with all of the benefits, certainly the faster build is highly attractive to our clients.
Emmanuel, any questions or comments from your side so far?
Not yet, thank you.
Sure, continue, Jonathan.
So what were we most proud of in this project? Working with Adrian and actually detailing each and every part of the componentry, the seamless integration between architecture and engineering was possible through sharing of physical modeling. And that resulted in zero wastage on site. And in fact, what we've got here is just a highlight of the kind of efficiency. The member which is in phase 1 is going to be a roof rafter in phase 2. And even that is not going to be a wastage factor from phase 1 to phase 2. And I'm going to leave Adrian to talk more about how the provisions, literally allowing a bolted connection to be perfectly aligned for the clipping in of phase 2 for the second phase. The other beauty and the element that we're most proud of is that the architecture and the structure could be celebrated with the steel construction internally to externally. So not only was it a great structural device for speed of construction, but right the way through to modulation in the interior, from the staircases to the columns to the forming of the building. Each and every part celebrated steel throughout the interior as well. And then just some snapshots of the exterior. The precision that the steel set up actually set the tone for the entire construction. Brickwork was modulated. It had nice clean edges to work within. And this sets the absolute standards at the highest possible standards for all the other trades to work within. And yeah, not only is steel the hero of this project, it pushed the other trades to excel in their performance.
Question for you, Jonathan.
Yeah.
What type of walling system and slab system were used within this steel skeleton?
It's a masonry infill, and our slab system was a modulated in situ slab system.
Good, good. I think let's move on to the structural engineering and fabrication related questions. I think, I'm not sure who's going to be answering what here. So just shout or raise your hand if it's going to be you. So I think, can you just give us a brief description of the structural framing for the project?
Yes, it's Adrian O'Dea speaking. The entire structure, the support structure, was made out of steel. So we had steel columns, beams, rafters, flat bar cross braces that we could utilize as tension members only, and then a few large diameter circular sections that was to support the second phase of the building. I think at this time I'd just like to share a screen here.
Sure.
Yes, that was our 3D model. Can you see it, Ms. Sherman?
Yep.
You good? Okay, so we first designed the building. Just to come back to the first question, this is the steel structure, and it's entirely self-supporting. The brick panels are merely as infill panels, and the concrete slabs did provide some form of lateral stability, but the entire structure is self-supporting in steel. Can I go on to the next question?
Yeah.
What were some of the challenges and how did you overcome them? We first started off, and like most clients, they want to know what it's going to cost. And for that purpose, we did the design and drawings in full 3D, which allows us to get a material and bulk list to an extremely high degree. I would say once you're done with that, you are at over 95% accurate. That was then used in a bill for the contractor to price. So the cost of the steel structure before construction was extremely accurate. They were very minor items later on. The next item is the client required that the construction be done very fast once the project is approved. And again, the fully 3D detailed drawing from start reduced the time for shop drawings, and therefore, once the contractor were appointed, he was on site quite quickly. They were not all bolted details were there, all members were there. We had a little bit of, I would say, a delay of probably less than a week. We did the design and our drawings in another software program from the contractor. So these draftsmen had to redraw it. The two could not intelligently communicate. He could see the 3D model, inquire it, take measurements, but he had to redraw it in his software. We used the Autodesk software, and the model you're seeing is the one from Tekla. The client required the advertising banner to be supported before the completion of the building. And steel was an excellent choice for that. As I've described earlier, that the brick infill panels and concrete slabs were there for the building and not the advertising panel. And the earlier the advertising panel goes on, it makes a big financial implication. There's early income. The second and another item is, you can see that a very small portion of the building was actually constructed for offices. There's a big second phase that still needs to be constructed here at the open end of the V. So the major focus item here was the income from the advertising banners. And steel was again an excellent choice. We were able to provide these backstays as temporary supports. We don't know how long they will be in, maybe for a few years, but still had a very economical structure. No, very marginal wastage, minimal wastage. Coming back to the concrete slabs, from the officer side, they required about a 10.5 meter span in concrete slabs. And that was achieved by using a modified coffer slab. It's from a company called TAS Slabs. It's typically a coffer deck slab with polystyrene void formers. And again, their ribs, as you can call it, is basically cold formed lip channel sections with reinforcing inside. It's also a very good thermal and acoustic slab. So we were able to span 10.5 meters with these slabs. As you've seen from the presentation from the architect, we've got exposed steel beams even in the floors. And the thickness of the concrete coffer deck was very much the same as the depth of our beams. So if you look at the structure, the top of concrete is level with the beams, and the underside of concrete is level with the underside. So again, the steel provided a shuttering all around, and the void formers and polystyrene, and that it was a very easy slab to construct. There were no shuttering around the edges of the concrete. The steel beams formed that. If we move on to the fabrication and erection process, the fabrication complexity, the steel, standard grade steel, highly available. We had most of the connections were standard. As you've seen from the architect's presentation, there were a few that are at a slight angle, not major difficult. So the more you stick to standard connections, the less problems you've got during the construction and fabrication process. In terms of difficulty, the client required a very short construction time, and the steel fitted excellently there. The steel structure could go up, advertising banner could be installed, and while the rest of the building project proceeded, the income was able to generate. In terms of innovation, I think the architect has also mentioned that initially the architect did a basic drawing. We then proceeded to do a full detailed steel structure drawing, bolt connections, staircases, everything, every last bolt connection. He then imported that model into his architectural program and filled in the brickwork and the concrete. And as he has said there, the architect's model and the engineer's model is the 100% accurate model. And that was a very big help in this project. Next question, how does this project illustrate the benefits of steel as a material? I think the benefit, ease of manufacturing, very high component of the work is done in the workshop, and only assembly and erection is done on site. And nowadays it becomes more and more a problem that site work is not the same quality as work in a workshop. So in a workshop, it's a controlled environment, high degree of accuracy, and on site it's just the assembly. And again, I'd like to mention the use of steel combined with the concrete slabs, that worked very well. What are we most proud of on this project? I think we've provided a very durable structure. Aesthetically, it looks good. It serves the intended purpose and the instruction from the client. That's to the best of our knowledge. We'd like to hear from the client side as well. The contractor did a good quality work in the fabrication and construction. I believe it was cost effective. And what we are very proud of is it's a very high visible structure on a major road. That's it from our side.
Good. Emmanuel, I see you unmuted. Do you have any questions before we move on to Kobus?
A few questions. So I can see that this is a very complicated project because the purpose of the structure changes over time and there's yet more to be built. So the design must have been quite complicated. So the first question is regarding that complication in design. How do you design something that is, let's say, going to be exposed now, but eventually will be enclosed, meaning there might be a fire requirement, for instance, or other such things that might be required in an office? That's the first question. Second question relates to your modeling and how you used models to expedite the project and make it more accurate. Did you have difficulty transmitting your Revit IFCs into Tekla? Is that what the issue was?
Yes, to answer that question about the design, the fire items, you'll see that there is there's two phases of the building with like a courtyard in between them. We did construct the fire escape in the initial phase. In terms of the design, well, you basically have to do the design and then recheck the design without the internal members and then provide backstay support for it. And then make sure both of the designs fitted well. In terms of the 3D model, our program that we use, the architect uses Revit. We used Autodesk Advanced Steel, and the contractor uses Tekla. Now, from Autodesk Advanced Steel to Tekla, to the architect's Revit, that seems to have gone well. From Autodesk Advanced Steel to Tekla, the model is not intelligent. So it cannot be used for generating shop drawings and fabrication. But from Autodesk to Revit, it was good.
Oh, I understand. I didn't realize.
Thanks, folks. Now, I just wanted to ask, Adrian, the second phase, we've already designed it and it's ready to push the button when we've now got the first 600 meters that is offices that just over 600. The other 1,200 square meters, that model, do you have that model that can be viewed or on?
Yes, Cobus, if I can just share the screen again.
Sure, go for it.
Yes, you'll see that if I zoom in there, there's the columns, there's the bolt connections, and on this side, there should be a bolt connection here. But it's already ready for the second phase. We do have it in advanced steel, but the contractor has not yet drawn it in Tekla. But yeah, this full model is available in advanced steel. You can see bolt connections are there. It's ready for the second phase to be constructed. Just by removing these two very long diagonal members. We can only remove them once the steel frame is installed.
Adrian, one more question. How do you protect the steel from environmental impacts in terms of coating until it's enclosed?
Yes, there was we were not in detail involved in the paint spec, but the steel is exposed to like a normal external steel structure. And Cobus was instrumental in that, in specifying the paint spec. He's got a very good knowledge on the quality of paint that was used there. But it's call it an external steel structure.
Okay.
So maybe my question is for Cobus then. Cobus, how was the steel protected until you enclose it in the future?
Emmanuel, what we did is the contractor there, Ferro Eleganza, they were also involved in that, but we went to the highest spec that we could, which is a twin pack epoxy type of application, and it has a 10-year guarantee on it. So you know that you're not going to have short-term problems with it. And I must say it's come out really very well, and the finish to it, we're very happy with it.
Can we maybe just move over to Jacques to hear a little bit from Ferro Eleganza's side on the fabrication and erection for this job? Jacques, can you give us a little bit of insight into that part of the job and some of the challenges that you had and how you overcame them?
Yes, just to answer, the paint spec was a Jotum paint spec. It's the 10-year guarantee, just on the paint spec that Cobus discussed there. And yeah, I think broadly everything was discussed by Adrian. The challenge from our side is for a change, steel is exposed, and we were happy because everybody always eyed it. But this time they keep it exposed. And because it's not only an office block or only a billboard, there was some requirements from the client. The client's very serious about his brickwork. So the vertical bracing was a flat. It was if I'm correct, I think it was a 220 by 10 millimeter vertical bracing plate that needs to fit exactly between two skins of face brick. And like everybody discussed, the building's got a abnormal shape. Yeah, it was a challenge to make it work and get it exactly in between that brickwork, but it happened. And we're still very grateful that there's steel visible from the highway, and it's one of our country's busiest highways. So yeah, we're thankful, and I think it came out very nice.
Jacques, do you have any maybe challenges that you would like to address in regards to erection, or maybe the nature of the project that it's actually staged? Was there anything complicated about that?
No, I think the design was very simple and nice. It was a beam. It was major beam job. The tolerances was on the dot. So to make that slabs work, I mean, it was just I think the biggest challenge was to work accurate for that brickwork and for the slabs. And then the time frame. The time frame was to make it work and get it out there. So, but I think the design team did a very good job to make this impressive building go very smooth.
So last question from my side for Jacques, and then I think anyone else who hasn't answered this one yet, is what are you most proud of on this project from the element that you were involved with?
Yeah, I think, like I've mentioned earlier, usually they hide the steel, and now we're next to the N1, and they've decided not to hide the steel this time. So we're part of this beautiful brickwork and advertising and steel. So yeah, for steel contractors, at least to say, yeah, there's a building that you can see, there's steel building, and it's not cladded and hide away. So that makes you proud.
Denise, yeah, I think from the outset, when we started this project, we also did we started with the township development. That's where we kicked off on this one. But we realized it's going to be a challenge, you know, from putting something together that we needed, this actually three-phase type of approach. Everybody would have to come to the party. Innovation would be needed, and we saw that from the very start. And I must say, I'm extremely happy with the way our professional teams worked at it, both Jonathan, Adrian, others as well that were involved with some other smaller issues. But everybody just came together and they worked at it with one view, and that is to get it done properly at a high standard, which is not always easy in today's world. And the result is there. We certainly are very, very proud of it. Both Ferro Eleganza as well. We've done previous projects with them too. They came to the party. Jacques did a very good job in overseeing that. Obviously, there were some problems, but when they came up, they were addressed and they were sorted out quickly. You know, that is the big thing, I think, with anything. And no work on the site. You know, everything was done, and this model just came together, got bolted together, yeah, we sit there with a product that it actually surpasses what we thought in what it's doing. It's certainly steel is something that we always use. We've been developers from the early 90s, and I can't count on my one hand concrete structures. We stay away from that. We like steel because of you know the flexibility that it offers. Even with with warehouse factories, we always do that. We do a steel structure, and on the inside you would have the offices also steel that you could extend onto, that sort of thing. And with this specific design, Jonathan did a very good job in the initial concept that he followed to get a product that we could both have tenants in and have the billboard. And that is something that is it's not the norm. And they had to work in all of the lighting and the airflow and all of that had to come into it. And it was done extremely well. So I think the thing to just put it in a nutshell, Denise and Emmanuel, I'm just very proud of the way that everybody worked together, as individuals and as companies, as teams. These people, they went the extra mile in seeing that something was done on time and efficiently. And well, now we have SA Breweries. We have a lease with them, and it's working. That's what the developer wants to have. But we're also proud of it because it's really a landmark. I think it's becoming a landmark on the N1. It's literally, you can't miss it. It's on that positive corner, and it's there, and hopefully it'll be there for a very long time. So we're proud of the way that, I think my sentiment is how everybody worked together in getting this done. And the steel concept that we like, that was done to the full, and as Jacques mentioned as well, it's visible, especially when you enter from the other side. I mean, all these members are standing there, and it's beautiful. We love that.
I remember now that there was one aspect of the project that we didn't cover yet, which was the roof sheeting. I think, I'm not sure if it was a Sofintra entry,
Yes.
if I'm not mistaken. Who would be best to answer any questions related to the roof sheeting?
I think you mean at this meeting, Denise?
Well, I think that we did invite the whole project team, but maybe I should just try and see if I can schedule a separate call.
I actually spoke to Gavin from Sofintra, and he mentioned that, you know, I asked him, did you not get an invite? And he said no, he didn't. So, but
I think it might be an oversight from my side. So maybe I'll just arrange with him separately and chat to him about the roof sheeting.
Yeah, just one comment, Denise.
Yes.
So Cobus, I think I'd like to congratulate you on such a bold, it's the first time in years of judging that I've seen a project that starts as a billboard and becomes a building. So maybe it's been done before, but to me it sounds novel. But yes, a question for Jonathan. Did you use the billboard in any way as part of your energy savings for the office, in the same sort of screening or some other method?
Yes, in fact, what was a testimony to its success is that this week we went back to the building to take a couple of photographs for this particular presentation. And this building, without any air conditioning, is sitting at a passive temperature of around about 18 degrees without any kind of heating or cooling. And that has contributed to the fact that we've got every major facade actually shaded with the billboard itself, which is a huge advantage in the South African environment. The extent of windows and the calculations for all of the energy calculations, the building actually came in very, very sensibly as a comfortable environment without any expense on glazing. So all in all, the contribution of the billboard has actually helped the energy efficiency calculations of the building itself. And that's not something that we foresaw coming. We've got a large west facade, and discussions between Cobus and I at many occasions had been, how much double glazing will we have to introduce because of the west glass? And actually that's not even been an issue in the construction and in the resolution. So yeah, that protection and shading has certainly paid its dividends in the comfort level of the building as it stands.